Welcome, you're one-on-one with Wes the Sports Guy here on YouTube and always at westhesportsguy.com. Lots to get to this week for episode 8 with yours truly, Wes the Sports Guy. The NBA and NHL playoffs are heating up a little bit right now in the semifinals. You got the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets, each in the Western Conference with 2-1 series lead. The Warriors losing Game 3 to the New Orleans Pelicans in New Orleans this time. The Pelicans are not going to go away quietly. They made it kind of interesting in Oakland against the Warriors, but alas, the Warriors won those first 2 games on their home court, but they could not get through Game 3, with the Pelicans taking that one pretty easily. The Houston Rockets lost Game 2 at home to the Utah Jazz, but ended up winning Game 3 against them on their home court in Salt Lake City, Utah. The Cleveland Cavaliers have a commanding 2-0 lead against the Toronto Raptors, the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. The Boston Celtics also have a commanding 2-0 lead, although they could have lost Game 2 at home to the Philadelphia 76ers. Philly did have that game pretty well in hand for about 3 quarters, although Boston ended up pulling away late in the game with a victory to go up 2-0 in that series. In the NHL, you got a commanding 3-1 lead for the Tampa Bay Lightning, the top team in the Eastern Conference, against the Boston Bruins. That has been a rather entertaining series for the most part, but alas, Lightning have a 3-1 advantage right now, and they're going back home to close it out, they hope to, in Game 5 against the Bruins. The Washington Capitals and Pittsburgh Penguins are tied at 2 apiece as well. We expected that series to go at least 6, possibly 7 games, as did I. I expected it to go 7 games and kind of in a toss-up, but I still have the Penguins getting by the Capitals once again in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I would not be shocked to see if the Capitals won the way they've been playing, but seems like momentum's back in Pittsburgh's favor after winning Game 4, taking it back to their home ice, the Washington Capitals' home ice, I should say, for Game 5. The Vegas Golden Knights have a 3-2 lead, winning Game 5 at home, going against the San Jose Sharks. They just need to win one in San Jose, which isn't been an easy task for them so far in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but San Jose is not willing to go away quietly. The Nashville Predators and the Winnipeg Jets are also tied at 2 apiece. Game 5 going back to Nashville with their home ice advantage throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs, being the top point getter for the NHL regular season. That's been the most entertaining series thus far, and I don't expect that changing anytime soon. Winnipeg is putting up a pretty good fight. I don't anticipate them going away anytime soon in 6. That should definitely go 7 games at least. Time for the most memorable segment with yours truly here one-on-one at YouTube and also at westhesportsguy.com. Do you remember?
You remember?
Do you remember the 2001 Major League Baseball season? Specifically with 2 players that debuted during that rather eventful year in baseball, which we all remember what happened on September 11th, 2001. Never ever going to forget that day. And we're also never going to forget the memories that baseball gave us after that with the New York Mets and Mike Piazza getting that go-ahead home run against the Atlanta Braves, the New York Yankees, and their run to what was looking like another World Series championship against the Arizona Diamondbacks in the World Series. But it ended up being one of the most eventful World Series of all time, with the Arizona Diamondbacks down 3-2 in that series and ending up winning it in 7 games in dramatic fashion. But 2 players specifically that debuted that season, Ichiro Suzuki of the Seattle Mariners and Albert Pujols of the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, you wouldn't think these 2 are going to be intertwined throughout their entire careers, but they always will be from their rookie seasons in 2001. They each won their League Rookie of the Year awards, respectively, Ichiro in the American League, Albert in the National League at the time. Ichiro, as we all know him now, instead of just being Ichiro Suzuki, he's just Ichiro, and he's arguably the greatest hitter I have ever seen. You combine his hit totals from Japan and playing in Major League Baseball here in the U.S., he has well over 4,000 hits. He has surpassed Pete Rose. He has broken that record already. He does have more than 3,000 hits in the major leagues, which automatically qualifies him for the Hall of Fame in this part of the world. And then you look at Albert Pujols. He just recently accomplished that feat, getting his 3,000th hit in Seattle, of all places, against Ichiro and the Seattle Mariners. Now, Ichiro recently announced with the Seattle Mariners that he's going to take a basically special assistant position to the chairman of the Mariners organization and not be on the active roster for this season for the Mariners. Does not mean he's actually officially retired, but he is taking a seat back from playing this season in Major League Baseball. I don't think that's essentially a retirement, and everybody thinks it's a retirement, but it's not official yet. I don't want to see Ichiro leave anytime soon, but spots are starting to dwindle. He had a spot the last couple of years with the Miami Marlins, and with the regime change there and the youth movement going on again with the Marlins organization, Ichiro was left out. Seattle brought him in because there was a need. They had a lot of injuries in their outfield, and they decided, hey, we do need a good fourth outfielder, and Ichiro provides that. Now, with the health of those outfielders in question coming back to play for the Mariners, there was a spot up for grabs right now. I do believe Ichiro is going to continue to play. I just don't know if it's actually going to be in Seattle. So here's to the fact that one of the greatest hitters you've ever seen has single-handedly also changed the way the game is played as well. The way Ichiro would automatically start running out of the batter's box as he swatted at the ball in his, you could say, karate chop style of swing, but it worked. It got him well over 3,000 hits in the majors and over 4,000 combined with Japan and the major leagues in the U.S. Albert Pujols, on the other hand, he's got over 3,000 hits now and over 600 home runs, part of an exclusive club that is just a handful of guys, including himself. He's also 63 RBIs away from getting 2,000, which would only put him as the third player to ever do that in Major League history. Two of the most consistent hitters you will ever see are going to be forever intertwined, and maybe possibly in Cooperstown as well. Not at the same time, because I would think Ichiro is going to retire before Pujols does. But regardless, these two players are among the best we have ever seen, no matter what generation you've started watching the game. Cherish what you're seeing right now, because you probably will never see this again. Albert Pujols and Ichiro Suzuki. We're definitely going to remember that 2001 season for many reasons, but two more should be with the debuts of Ichiro Suzuki and Albert Pujols. Time for my feel-good story of the week, and it's a pretty good one. It's a Good Samaritan in Texas. Let me just give you the rundown of the story real quick. Quote, at about midnight on April 13th, Ramirez and his friends stopped to help victims in a suspected drunk driving crash in Roy's City, about 30 miles northeast of Dallas. The driver of the crashed vehicle, apparently not hurt, decided to jump into the teen's black Chrysler and sped off, nearly running Ramirez over. Dylan Stampf, who stole the Good Samaritan's car, led police on a chase that ended nearly 10 minutes later when he crashed again, and Stampf had died at the scene of the crash. The Roy City High School student's car was totaled, and his insurance wouldn't cover the damage due to the theft. What ended up happening next, you say? The community stepped up and helped Ramirez out, who became a victim when he tried to help others in need. A nearby car dealership in Greensville, Chrysler heard about his dilemma and offered him a free car, a cherry red Camaro. Ramirez didn't feel right, though, accepting the car from the dealership for himself, because his friend Jeremy Poor had set up a GoFundMe account where the donations had already totaled $15,000 to help Ramirez get a car for himself. Poor was with Ramirez at the time of the incident in April. Ramirez had said, quote, it didn't feel morally correct to accept the car after a lot of people had helped out for the sole purpose to help him get another car. He had chosen not to accept it, and he's going to donate that car to somebody else. So essentially, as it's turning out right now, his friend Jeremy Poor's kindness would soon come full circle. His car wasn't running because of an unrelated accident, so Ramirez has now decided to donate that red Camaro to his friend Jeremy Poor. And it gets even better, of course, when Jeremy Poor's car is fixed and up and running. Him and Ramirez are going to plan to give it to somebody else in need as well. Now, I've excluded Ramirez's first name. I apologize for that. His name is Jerry Ramirez in Royce City, Texas, which is 30 miles northeast of Dallas. So good on you, both Jerry Ramirez and Jeremy Poor. Good fellas right there. You got to love it. I don't see how you can go into your weekend feeling bad about the state of the world right now, because when you hear stories like this, that's what makes it all so much better. And just pay it forward. You get an act of kindness towards yourself, pay it forward, and return the favor to somebody else as well. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you next week here on YouTube and at westthesportsguy.com, episode 9 of One-on-One with Wes the Sports Guy. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next time.